The players-only meeting worked. Twins win the series in Washington. We break it all down on the Locked On Twins POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Twins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Twins POSTCAST on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thanks so much for watching us live on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Please hammer that subscribe button. Get notified when we're doing these shows after every single game, or listening to us after the fact on the Locked On Twins podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Ekstrom here with Locked On Sports Minnesota at Sam Ekstrom on X, joined by C.J. Baumgartner, Zone Coverage, zonecoverage.com. He's at BaumCJ30 on X, here to break down a 3-2 Minnesota Twins win in Washington. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need, the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Well, CJ, we got a lot to get into. Good pitching performance by the Twins. Some timely hitting, not exactly an explosion offensively. But the last time we spoke, 2 nights ago, CJ, was the same time that the Twins were having a players-only meeting. The good old players-only meeting. It happened this year on May the 20th. And for whatever reason, these things tend to work. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it level sets or resets your focus or just screws your head on straight. But the Twins come out and they win 2 big games in the span of less than 24 hours, 10-0 last night and 3-2 this afternoon. Got dicey at the end. Jhoan Duran in a little bit of a slump. He gives up a homer and a single in the 9th, but he closes the door for the save. 3-2 win for the Twins. That was highlighted by a Kepler solo home run and a Correa solo home run. Jeffers tacks on actually much needed insurance run in the top of the 9th. CJ, your big headline from this one.
Carlos Correa is really good at baseball. I think that's my biggest takeaway. Not only did he have the solo home run, but a run-saving defensive stop in the 7th inning. That was huge with 2 runners on. Would have tied the game up at 2 in the moment. Just overall, I mean, he's having a really nice season, but this is just kind of an exclamation point for Correa, who leaves this series now doubling his home run total on the season.
Yeah, I think that's where we start in this one, are a couple of the veterans, Kepler and Correa, who are carrying the Twins in a lot of ways right now. Let's start with Correa. He homers in this game, top of the 6th inning to give the Twins a 2-0 lead. You mentioned his 2nd home run of the series. He's been barreling it up lately. Carlos Correa has been super consistent since he returned from his injury. He has hits in 11 of the last 13 games. He's batting .270, which if you look at his career average, it's right on it. We are getting a healthier Carlos Correa, and he's more productive. And you saw the defensive play he made to end the bottom of the 7th inning. The glove has not gone anywhere. And that was the case last year. Even when the offense wasn't there, the defense was. This year, the offense seems to have joined the defense. Is this the Carlos Correa that we always expected? Is this the Carlos Correa that we wanted at times last year?
Yeah, 100%. This is exactly who Carlos Correa is. And even when he was in Houston, you know, he was obviously a part of that nucleus. He was never the guy that's going to be in the MVP race come towards the end of the season, but he's just a consistently solid player at one of the league's most important positions in shortstop. And like you mentioned, over the last few years, he's always been a great shortstop. You know, the glove has been there. The bat last year, he was hurt. And 2 years ago, I mean, it was just a whole fiasco with his contract and the lockout and the 1-year deal. And the Twins were weird in 2022. And I just wrote about this a couple weeks ago or last week, talking about what makes Correa, what has kind of made this season click for him. And I mean, he's healthy, which you mentioned is just number one. And 2, I feel like a lot of that noise, because even last year was the whole contract fiasco and the Giants and the Mets. And this is just the first year that he's come in knowing the plan, fully healthy, ready to go. Even before he got injured, it felt like he was playing really, really well in April, which he typically doesn't do. His OPS is plus 800 right now on the season. This is a guy who I know Jeffers has a chance to be that all-star for the Twins, but Carlos Correa could be a sneaky pick to be that Twins all-star come July.
No doubt about it. And leaders like Correa, you expect them to come up with winning plays in games like this. A getaway day against the woebegone Washington Nationals, you need someone to show up. These games are often low scoring. They move by quickly, and if you're asleep for an hour, you might lose. And Correa gives them a big jolt. He gives them a big defensive play, and that was really the difference in this one. A tight finish. Duran's fourth save of the year in the 3-2 win. Moving to Kepler. Max Kepler is a 300 hitter right now, and this is not the altitude that he usually flies at. Max Kepler has been living around that 230, 240 mark for a number of years, and last year he might have salvaged his Twins career with the second half of the season when a lot of people wanted him to get DFA'd. Now he's a 300 hitter. 311, in fact, if you look at the way he ended today, a home run in the first pitch of the second inning, by the way, to get the scoring started. Is this a sustainable Max Kepler run that he's on? I know we're early in the season. We're almost 50 games in, but this also isn't a small sample size at this point. Like this might be a little bit more legitimate. 368 on base. Do you think Kepler can be a 300 hitter for this team?
I don't know. I mean, I really like Max Kepler. Like, I've really liked his last few weeks. I was one of the guys when he came off the IL. I was like, how important really is Max Kepler going to be for this team? Because people talked about that was right when they were struggling, and it felt like the season was over already. Max Kepler was one of the big reasons why the season got turned around. He proved me wrong. But at the risk of being proven wrong again, I don't know if Max Kepler is going to finish the season with an above 300 batting average, but I think he will finish well above his career average, or like you talked about, that 240 range. I feel like he'll finish the season somewhere around 270, 280, which in today's game is still a very nice clip. Max Kepler, it just feels like everything he's hitting is just getting barreled up. Like he's just in sync right now. And it's been almost a month of him doing that. And all good hitters have a month where it's just like this. So Max Kepler, I don't know if he's going to get to that 300 clip, but he's certainly not going to regress all the way back to his career average. If that happens, he'll have gone completely ice cold.
The BABIP for Kepler, if you're looking for a reason why he would regress, the BABIP, batting average on balls in play, is a gaudy 395. A lot of times, if it's up around 400, it's going to come down. It was 278 in March and April. That's usually a sign. Now, if you're barreling the ball every single time, your BABIP is going to be really good. I would have to look more into his exit velocities and see whether there's an element of luck in this. But what I do really like from Kepler is that in high leverage spots, he's been hitting 348. Kepler has, a lot of times, I think stereotypically, he's been the guy that pops it up when you need a clutch hit. He's the guy that's bangs it into the ground, a ground ball to second base when you need a fly ball. He's not been the most timely Twins hitter throughout his career. He's kind of quietly gone about his business. But I think this year he's actually been kind of the guy that they needed in a sleepy lineup, someone who has been somewhat clutch and hitting the ball pretty well when they need it to. And during that winning streak especially, he was a key piece. But I like what I'm seeing from Kepler, and I think that while you've got some kind of voids in the lineup, Julien, Kirilloff has really struggled. You need guys like Kepler to step up.
Yeah, I mean, Max Kepler just really has been the focal point of this offense. He's gotten things going, not only like you talked about early in the game, getting that solo home run and putting the team up 1-0, but he started that rally in the 9th inning with a double that's a home run in some ballparks. Like he put it to a weird kind of corner triangle area, that a deep center field at Nationals Park, but he got that started and got the Twins that insurance run. And yeah, I mean, I haven't looked up his numbers in clutch time, or just kind of going off anecdotal evidence like you talked, but you don't typically see him as being that guy. But over this last 3 weeks, the offense has started with Max Kepler. Every time you think of a clutch play, whether it's the series in Toronto, think of that Mother's Day game where he came up really big with some late insurance runs as well. He's getting hits really in any situation. And it's just been really, really good. This organization has put a lot of faith in Max Kepler. For all the platooning Rocco Baldelli does, he never really did it with Max Kepler. This organization trusts him to do that, and he's making them look really, really smart right now.
Hitting .311 on May the 22nd. Kepler having a really nice season for Minnesota. I want to get into the pitching performance of Simeon Woods Richardson, who does not get a win because of a curious poll by Rocco Baldelli. We'll debate that. And before the show's done, we'll update you on the Royce Lewis injury status. That's all next on the Locked On Twins postcast. We are presented today by Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. There's over 3 million members, and it's super fun. You put together an entry where you pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats. Watch the winnings roll in. There's so many options for baseball. It can be pitcher strikeouts. It can be hits. It can be home runs. It can be stolen bases. It can be some combination of them. You can also do cross sport. So you might do RBIs for your favorite baseball player and then do rebounds in the Wolves game tonight for somebody. It's just a great way to get into the action with more than 30 states across the country involved. It's super simple. You can get your entry together in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Twins win 3-2. Glad you're with us on the Locked On Twins postcast. Simeon Woods Richardson, man, he continues to produce. That is now 6 of 7 starts where he is not allowed more than 2 earned runs. That's what you need. That's what you want from your 4th or 5th guy. Woods Richardson has obviously, come in and been really trustworthy for the Twins. Now, the debate. He gets pulled with 2 outs in the 5th. 1 out away from qualifying for a win. I know pitcher wins don't matter, but they kind of matter. They matter for a young pitcher. They matter for confidence. It's nice to reward your pitchers because ultimately stats help their contracts. Stats help their arbitration. You want to have a win, especially when you have nobody on base in the 5th inning and 77 pitches. Now, I get it. Washington was turning over its lineup to the top of the order. They pull Richardson with the bases empty before he faces Abrams for a 3rd time. Give me your take, CJ. How are we ripping Rocco for this, or are we? Is this just typical Rocco with the more conservative handling of the young pitchers?
Yeah, I think it's going in. I'm going to lean more pro Rocco on this one, mainly because, like he talked about, he had that lineup coming through one more time. It was a 1-0 game, I believe, still at that point. And it's just a little tight. If the Twins had maybe a 3-run lead, maybe Baldelli does give him that leash a little bit in a 1-run game. And when the team is struggling a little bit, it's the rubber match of a series. You need to win 2 out of 3 against this Nationals team. You just feel like you need to make sure that you go to the, you need to make sure you put your best foot forward. And Simeon Woods Richardson, like you talked about, pitched very, very well today. But then you play the matchups a little bit. Oker comes out of the pen. The lefty, he does his job. Gets to ride that sweet bullpen cart, by the way. I don't know if you saw that video on social media. I think he tipped the driver, which is really, really cool. But, I mean, he comes in and gets the job done. And, yeah, Woods Richardson hasn't pitched a ton of innings this year. He's been kind of on that short leash, but it's a little dependent on some things in the game. A lot of times it's the score. If it's a close game and the Twins, in the last week or so, their offense has gone down a little bit, you're not typically you don't want to ride him too hard and maybe feel like you let him go one batter too late where he gives up a solo home run to tie the game at 1. And then all of a sudden things, for his stat line look a little bit different. A couple things towards that end is he only had 4 whiffs on the day, according to Baseball Savant. So he only generated 4 straight swing and misses in his entire start. He gave up a couple long fly balls towards the end. It's not always fun. I mean, it's not fun to pull a pitcher early. You'd like to see him kind of finish that inning and get that clean line, but at the end of the day, it just kind of felt like that natural time for him to go, just kind of based on all of those factors that were present at the time when Baldelli made that move.
All right, I've got two pushbacks. So number one, so I get the logic. Woods Richardson is a righty, and he's facing a left-handed hitter who can hit home runs. Abrams has 7 on the year. However, Woods Richardson this year against lefties are hitting 196 against him. How has Woods Richardson done third time through the order? Is it a problem for him? It has not been. Third time through the order, opponents are 222 against Woods Richardson this year, 4 for 18. I know you're playing the numbers to some extent, but also the numbers aren't really super unkind to Woods Richardson in that spot. So I get it. 1-run game, whiff rate was low. You don't want to give up a solo shot, and then your team's win is in jeopardy, not just your win. So I get it. I get the righty lefty thing, but I gotta get Rocco on some of these when it does feel like classic overthinking. When some of, like, you claim to play the numbers, but when you are looking at the numbers, they're actually somewhat favorable with a reverse split in that situation against lefties for Woods Richardson. So that's just the info. I'm not gonna hang Rocco for this. I don't think that. I mean, this is very on brand for him. A lot of these moves pay off. It obviously paid off in this case. Like the bullpen mostly did its job. So I'm not gonna rip him too hard. But I do like to needle him when I find some inconsistencies. Bullpen today used quite heavily. Let's get the full list here for you. Twins use Okert. Twins use, obviously, Thielbar, Funderburk, Jax, and Duran. Funderburk gives up the run in the 7th. Jax actually inherited it, gave up the ground ball that created the run, and then Duran the home run in the 9th. Your thoughts on the bullpen usage today?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much Rocco going with the heavy hitters today. A lot of those guys are people you want in those high leverage spots. I mean, Oker coming up against those lefties, kind of in those middle innings. That's the ideal spot. You try and give Funderburk a clean inning. He runs into a little bit of trouble. Not the ideal outing for him. Jax comes in and cleans up that mess a little bit. Thielbar, the team's preferred top lefty, comes in and has a clean inning. And then Duran, who's just kind of been off his game a little bit, gives up another home run, and it does slam the door. The Twins go with their heavy hitters because they didn't really need them yesterday with the blowout. They didn't need them on Monday because of the blowout, and they have an off day tomorrow. So Rocco felt very comfortable rest-wise to be able just to say, we got to win this series. We're giving them all of our big arms today.
Yeah, Woods Richardson goes 4 2/3, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Again, does not get the win. That goes to Okert, who moves to 1-0. Twins win 3-2. When we return, we'll clean up a couple loose ends and update you on Royce Lewis when he might be returning on the Locked On Twins postcast. It's presented today by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. Royce Lewis has been out since the season opener, but he's nearing a return, C.J. Baumgartner. Royce Lewis has gone through a lot of the paces during his recovery, and he has begun to run the bases. And they say that if he proves he can check that box, if he can sprint and get around the base paths cleanly, he is close to a rehab stint. What kind of a lift do you anticipate from Royce Lewis upon his return, and what will be the plan with him? Because the Twins, unfortunately, have a lot of experience dealing with oft-injured stars. Will he be handled with kid gloves, or will he just be set out to do his thing with no restrictions?
I think in August, September, no restrictions. I think on May 22nd, they're going to treat this with a lot of caution because they still have a lot of time left. I know they just came off the 7-game losing streak, but they're still above 500. They're still kind of where they want to be, and they feel like they can tread water until he gets back. If it's August, September, you're ready to throw him back. It's kind of a Hail Mary. You just need him to come back and help you out. You don't want to rush him back, and then he's out for another 2 months. You want to let him take his time, and if it takes an extra week for him to come back, or it takes just an extra amount of time to get him ready, that's okay. So once he does get those boxes checked and he's able to go on that rehab assignment, it'll be interesting to see kind of what level is that rehab assignment in single A, kind of trying to slowly work him back up, or are they just going to send him right back to St. Paul and kind of give him a few games and let him run wild? And as soon as he feels ready, they're going to send him up. It'll be fascinating to see how they handle that for sure, but I feel like they are going to lead on the side of caution just because we're not even to June yet, and they don't want to have a setback because they got a little too trigger happy.
It does feel like once he returns, a lot of DH stints, a lot of days off. I think that as valuable as we've seen Buxton be over the years and the way they've tried their hardest to keep him in the lineup, I almost think that you have to try even harder to make sure Royce Lewis is with you in August and September. And I don't know if his career is going to look like Buxton's, where it's a struggle to get him to 80 games a year. I hope not. I'm knocking on wood. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm doing all the superstitions that Royce Lewis can overcome these chronic injury issues. But he is such a physical player, a reckless player in some ways, that he is built on speed. He is built on just kind of being the wild horse and running all over the place and providing energy. And I would hate to see him neutralized in that way if he's not really allowed to do the things that he's best at. But we'll see how they handle him here in the middle months of the season. Who do you think kind of gets the boot once he rejoins the roster? Is it Miranda back to St. Paul? Is that the logical move?
I mean, I feel like it's got to be at that point, just because Miranda will be a little positionless because he can't really go to first base. Carlos Santana's been hitting. He's picked that part up. He's the everyday first baseman, and he's a switch hitter. So there's no really platoon advantage to keeping Miranda on the roster. If you need the DH, well, maybe, but I think you can kind of rotate that. They like to use Jeffers in that spot. It's not necessarily that Miranda's played bad either. Hit a home run yesterday. Feels like he's kind of hit a home run in 2 of his last 4 games. It feels like he's really picked himself back up after a sophomore slump. It's not necessarily a demerit against him, just kind of more of a numbers game and just gets squeezed out. Now, as we've learned as Twins fans, injuries kind of do end up making that answer pretty easy for the Twins. Somebody will end up getting a little banged up here or there, and that guy will go on the IL instead. But I think if that decision had to be made today, it's probably Jose Miranda, just because he's third base, DH or bust, and the Twins are, once Royce Lewis comes back, going to be pretty set at those 2 spots.
Twins could also just roll with 12 pitchers if they wanted to, have 14
That's true.
position players, but as flexible as they like to be in the bullpen, I could see them sending down Miranda and just saying, hey, just keep swinging. You're going to get another chance. He's like the first guy called up probably from St. Paul. And I agree. I think Miranda's been a huge resurgence for this lineup. I love what he's done in this 3rd year. A lot of times that sophomore slump can wreck a player, and they never really recover from it. And that hasn't been the case with him, which is really, really cool. In closing, we look ahead to a series against the champs, Texas Rangers, this weekend. Your thoughts on the series back at Target Field as the Twins return home?
It'll be really fascinating because the last time the Rangers were at Target Field, it was a real playoff atmosphere. Jeffers had that big game. There was a little bit of chirping going back and forth between him and not necessarily at each other, but just kind of the battle of words with Garver and Jeffers. That last time, it was a really fun series. And then the Twins had another really good season in Texas. It's been really fun seeing those 2 teams go at each other, but Texas is a little bit like the Twins in there, and it's taken them a little bit to get going. I believe the Rangers are below 500 right now. So the Twins are getting the defending champs at a good time, going to go back home to Target Field and try and see if they can, again, just win a series. They've had the big winning streak. They had the, not great losing streak, but really at the end of the day, it's about winning those series. And if they can just find a way to win 2 out of 3 this weekend, like they did in Washington, I think they're more than capable of doing that the way Texas is playing right now. They're just not firing on all cylinders.
Well, if I recall, the Twins got the Rangers when they bottomed out last year, and it looked like they were questionable to even make the playoffs, and they were in dire straits. And the Twins took advantage of that, and then Texas goes and wins the World Series. You just got to peak at the right time. But Twins win today. They've won 2 in a row. They've bounced back from the 7-game skid. Records at 26 and 23. Off day tomorrow. Game number 50 of the season on Friday. 6.5 back of a red-hot Guardians team that is 33 and 17. 9 of their last 10 they've won. So a lot of work to do in the Central Division, which is not a cakewalk this year. Royals also playing great ball. They've won 5 in a row. So the Twins got to keep up, and we'll have a lot more postcast coverage of the Twins. Also check out Locked On Twins for daily coverage of your favorite baseball team. No show on Friday. It'll be Wolves coverage, Game 2, Western Conference Finals. Twins coverage, though, will continue over the weekend against the Rangers. He's C.J. Baumgartner, zonecoverage.com. I'm Sam Ekstrom, at Sam Ekstrom on X, here with Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thanks for watching the Twins postcast today. CJ, we'll talk to you soon. This is Locked On Sports Minnesota.